Good night. Have one tonight. God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma Jill Spiritual. I'm here to give you a word on tonight. And the topic gonna be Ruth, life game. Sometimes you got to take a gamble on life. That means you gotta trust God. Sometimes you gotta jump out to get out the box sometimes. So this story about Ruth. Now she took a gamble of her life, which turned out to be good. She hit the jackpot. So Ruth was determined to follow her mother-in-law. Now she married Boaz, who was a rich man, and they had a child which made history. Because that's the bloodline of David. I mean, David is the bloodline of Ruth. You know, so sometime in life it's a gamble. You know, but trust God, and He'll determine how it would end. You know, God will determine how it ends. If you take a gamble on life, because this a Ruth did. Her and Naomi, they had both had losses. And Ruth, she didn't want to go home. She took a gamble and figured, I'm going to follow my mother-in-law. Wherever she go, I'm going to serve her God. She wanted to do whatever her mother was going to do. So she took a gamble on life. She didn't know what was going to become. She didn't know what was going to happen. She didn't know she was going to get rich, you know. And Ruth and Naomi had losses. But then Naomi had decided to go back to her hometown, and she told Ruth to go back to her own home. And she refused to. She wanted to stay. She wanted to stay wherever her mother do. So Ruth's sister went back home. But Ruth was determined to follow her mother-in-law. She loved her mother-in-law. So Ruth replied, don't urge me to go back home. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people and your God will be my God. That's what Ruth told her mother-in-law. She told her, don't be urging me to keep on going back home. My mind is made up. I'm following you. We both got losses, and she had a loss also, but she was more concerned about her mother, because the mother lost two sons and a husband, so she know how she feel, and she didn't want her mother to be traveling and going to a foreign country, even though it's her hometown, but she didn't want her to be going back by herself. So now Naomi realized, that Ruth was determined, to go with her, and she stopped urging her to go back home. So by Ruth about to follow her mother-in-law, she about to follow her mother-in-law, the best decision she ever made. Ruth is about, to be a rich woman. Just by being in that field, just by following her mother to her hometown. Not hers, her mother-in-law hometown. So Ruth took a gamble. She don't know how her life gonna turn out. She said her God gonna be her God. So she seen how Naomi always praying to God and seeing how that's why she said your God gonna be my God. So Ruth had lost her husband. You know, didn't know what the next of her life, will be. But now her life is gamble, and she moving with her mother-in-law, not knowing her whole life is about to change. Not knowing her whole life is about to change. She don't know what about to happen. She just took a gamble. Trusting in Naomi God. She said, your God gonna be my God. She trusting in Naomi God. And just taking a gamble. She didn't want to go back home. Both of them lost each other. Naomi lost more. So they both know how their pain feel. So sometimes when you don't know what direction, to take, pray and take a gamble and believe in God that He'll take your bad situation and turn it around for the good. And that's what He about to do. God know both of them was in pain. Especially Naomi. She lost two sons and a husband. So God know their pain. So God about to turn that bad pain into some good pain. He really doing all this here for Naomi. So he about to bless her through Ruth, because he know Naomi's already in her age. I mean, God can make it happen that she could have had more children, still live the best life, but she got her mother, her daughter-in-law right next to her, that God can just bless the mother, because see, God already know Ruth heart that she love her mother so bad that God know if he bless her, he gonna bless her mother-in-law. So Ruth was a young widow in the prime of her life. She could have went home and found her another husband. She was still young, but she chose, to follow her mother. At first she had told her mother, I'm gonna hang, she said she gonna hang around with her mother. The mother told her, I'm at my age, I'm not gonna have no more kids. In time he get grown, y'all gonna be grown, you know. So since her mother-in-law in herself had losses, but Ruth wanted to follow familiar who know how she feel, So she wanted to follow her mother because the mother know how she feel. The mother know how her daughter-in-law feel. They both lost, so they both in pain and they both know how each other feel, So Ruth saw something in Naomi that inspired her to take the greatest gamble of her life, up to the point of moving to Bethlehem with her, So she saw something in Naomi that inspired her to follow her, you know. So the reason Ruth was determined to follow her mother-in-law, she had observed in her deceased husband, God inheritance, and it touched her deeply inside, So she know her husband, she know on Naomi, husband had inheritance. She gonna find more about that when she get ready to marry Bozan. So Ruth had witnessed it in Naomi anger strength. Everything had been taken from her mother-in-law. And many nights, Ruth heard her crying and bitterness and her tears, but she still troubled and could not completely extinguish her hope. So Naomi was crying for a long time. She was in pain for a long time. She lost more than just her husband. See, Ruth just lost her husband. Naomi lost two sons and a husband. So Ruth said she was crying in many nights. Heard her crying in many nights. So good thing Ruth did wait with her. Cause see, that's why Ruth really wanted to go with her. Cause Ruth knows she in more pain than what she in. She was gonna need someone familiar with her that know her pain, that can comfort her. So when Naomi decided to return home to Bethlehem, instead of leaving her fate in the foreign land, she accepted her pain and determined to see what God would do. And see that was good. She was in so much pain for a long time. So she decided to go back to Bethlehem. So she decided to accept her pain to try to move on. You ain't gonna never forget your whole pain completely, but you got to maintain in some kind of way to live life to move on, you know. So God had a plan for Naomi, but she will be blessed through Ruth. So all this Ruth is getting is ready for Naomi. So we all know that Ruth loved her mother-in-law. And Ruth had lost, she had losses, but she more concerned for her mother-in-law. Now Ruth had a loss, but she's still concerned for her mother-in-law who had losses, two sons and a husband. So Ruth's own soul was empty. Her soul was empty, and it also was empty for her mother-in-law. So a brief time with Naomi family has shown her something different. The brief time, short time she was with Naomi family, she said something was different. Ruth took a gamble of her life, followed her mother-in-law, and met a man named Bozan. So she took a gamble in her life, not knowing what was going to happen, but she followed her mother-in-law, to her hometown, and she said, I'm going to work in the field. She was willing to work to take care of her and her mother-in-law. Now, this is a good daughter-in-law. Not knowing when she go in that field that she was gonna find a rich man. So she found that man in that field and came home and told Naomi. Naomi told her how to get this real rich man, which is her cousin. And Ruth did not know all this here was gonna happen. She took a gamble. She not know her life. She did not know her life was gonna turn out this way. She just went in the field to work to take care of her and her mother-in-law, and wind up and met the richest man that owned all that she was working on. He told his workers to watch out for her. Take care of her, whatever she want, give her what she want. So she already was being treated as a queen, and did not know because she did it behind the scene. So she didn't know people was watching her, protecting her, guiding her, wherever you want in the field, you could have it. Not knowing somebody behind the scene is watching, that's somebody that's rich, and that's how it is when you take a gamble. But as you taking a gamble, you got to trust God with your life. Because God gonna allow, he gonna allow, is he the only one can see how he gonna end. And she did not know that God already had a plan for her life, already had a plan for her life, it was her plan, for Naomi through Ruth, so Boaz, she also, so she met that rich man in the field, came home and told Naomi. Naomi said, that's my cousin. She said, let me show you how to get him. She showed him how to get the man, and she had favor in his eyes. But she had favor already because when she was in that field, she was so pretty in that field. He said, who is that pretty girl? He already started telling her to watch her, make sure she's safe, and anything she asked for, give it to her. So she was being treated as a queen, and she did not even know. So she met him. He found favor in her. He married her. You know, and they had a child, which turned out to be history because that's David's grandmother. They had a son named Obed. Obed had a son of Jesse, and Jesse had a son of David, and David had a son of Solomon. So this is a bloodline, a history, you know, and all this happened to Ruth that she took a gamble on her life and turned her life into so beautiful and turned out okay. And that's how God is. God can take a bad situation and turn it to good. They both was in so much pain, and God can turn that pain into victory, and turn that pain where you'll forget about, or you lost what? You lost what, husband? You ain't gonna forget completely, but you're gonna manage a way to live a new life. So she just like Naomi said, I accept my pain to move on. She had to accept her pain before she went back to Bethlehem. She had to accept her pain to move on. And that's what both of them had to do. Both of them was in so much pain, and God will make your life so wonderful. You'll forget all that pain. You ain't gonna forget completely, but you're gonna forget all that pain, and you're gonna be happy, and you're gonna move on. This woman here, life was so happy. God turned that pain into victory. This woman that married a rich man that she not know she was gonna be bumping into in the field. Had a baby that turned out to be history. The bloodline went on and on to David. So that was amazing how this woman took a gamble on her life and hit the jackpot. Trusting in God. Trusting in God. Not only take a gamble in life and live out the box, but you got to trust God in the process, because everything, a situation, a storm in our life is always mapped out by God. They didn't know that their life was mapped out by God already. It's not no coincidence that you went in that field and that man noticed you. Nothing a coincidence when everything is good happen in your life, or anything that bad happen in your life. Ruth's whole life was changed. God had blessed her for life, and knowing that she was going to bless her mother-in-law. The mother-in-law was in so much pain. for nights after night. She was crying, because she lost two sons and a husband. She said her two sons were supposed to have been for her old age, but lucky she had a daughter-in-law that love her as precious as gold. It's good to have a daughter-in-law like that. You know, so Ruth life gamble paid off. It paid off. One, so Ruth and Naomi had losses. They had so much pain. You know, two, Ruth loved her mother-in-law and wanted to follow her to comfort Naomi, because she know Naomi had more pain than she did. So she really wanted to follow her mother to comfort her, because she know how much pain that she was in. You know, so three, Ruth took a gamble on her life and hit the jackpot. So four, she met a rich man. She met a rich man, and she was treated like a queen, and she did not know when she was in that field. He knows her. So you always have to look good, and always, even when you're going to the store around the corner, you never know when you're gonna meet a boss ass. You got to look beautiful at all times. He said, "Who that beautiful girl is in that field?" You never know who are watching you. It could be something good or bad. You never know who watching you. Even if you're going to the store, always be your best. You never know if you got a boy ass right there in that store watching. So five, a rich Ruth life gamble changed her life, and sometimes it take a gamble and live out the box. Sometimes, and God work in our lives that we cannot understand. You know, God will work in our life that we can't understand. There was this, Naomi couldn't understand how God allowed her to lose two sons and a husband. You know, but God have a reason for everything. That's a time, and then that's not a time. But God the only one make those decisions. But at the end of the day, they took a gamble and their life turned out for the best. God took that pain and turned it around for victory. You know, Ruth did not know. All she knows, she would find her mother to comfort her, because she heard her cry every night. She knows she was in pain. Not knowing she was going to go in the field and meet a Boaz. It turned out to be a rich woman. It turned out to be a grandmother. It turned out to be history. You know, so sometimes life, you might want to take a gamble and live out the box, but make sure you have God involved. Pray, because once you pray, God start guiding, give you intuition on what you should be doing. They'll never do anything without having God involved in your life. Because just like Naomi, had God in her life, and Ruth said, "Your God, I want your God to be my God." And so they prayed, and God guided their life, and God worked out a plan, took that pain, and turned it into victory. So they weren't even worrying about the losses, because they had gained. They gained more. She gained her rich husband. She had a son. Great. She also was a grandmother. So life turned out good for her and her mother. After she had that baby, the mother hold that baby, comfort that baby. And it put the ease on her heart. Because her heart was so broken. So that's all the word I have for you on today. And sometimes life can take a gamble. Sometimes you can take a gamble on life. But make sure you have God involved so He can guide you on that step. So that's all the word I have for you today. And I see y'all on the next video.